T. Welcome to the Command Post. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. Of course, I'm your Commander-in-Chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. So we're talking about free agent targets for the Washington Commanders. Let me first say this because, as we know, free agency is a very fluid touch-and-go situation. At the time of this video, every single player that I'm talking about was still heading towards free agency, which starts on Wednesday. Now, obviously, these players are in negotiations or could be in negotiations with their former teams, and they could sign a deal to stay with their former team. As of the recording of this video, all of these players are still heading towards free agency. Hopefully that remains the case, but obviously they could be back with their team by the time you're viewing this video, so just keep that in mind. With that said, we're talking about the safety position, and it's amazing that this is even a need for the Commanders as we sit here. I've talked about this on numerous videos that the Commanders have drafted a safety each of the last 4 seasons, and all 4 of those guys were on the roster as of last season. So even if one of them was to walk, you would think that they would still be good enough at that position where they wouldn't have to address it at this current juncture and feel like it's somewhat of a big need. But that's kind of the feeling you're getting right now with Cam Curl not being franchise tagged, which we knew was going to take place, and not seeming like he's going to be back in Washington. I've got something to say about that, but if he's not back, with this new defense that we're going to be playing, obviously Dan Quinn is the head coach, Joe Witt Jr. coming in, and they're going to implement their scheme, and Tommy Donatel and all of those guys coming together, Daryl Tapp on the defensive line, etc., Ken Norton Jr. at the linebacker position, and they're going to put together a defense that is supposed to be able to bring us joy in watching it again. It's been abysmal watching this defense for the last 3-4 years. Even the years where they've been good, I knew it was fool's gold. I was never impressed. So with that said, the safety position is one of those positions that has grown into one of those hybrid positions, with the tight end becoming more and more prevalent in NFL offenses, running backs, and et cetera, et cetera. The versatility of a safety or a hybrid linebacker, which sometimes the lines are blurred between safety and backer, have become more and more important in NFL defenses. Guys that are athletic, that can do a little bit of everything. And I think the safety position has been one of those positions that you peg as a guy that can do a little bit of everything. And so all of a sudden, this feels like a big need. And the NFL has made it abundantly clear this offseason in particular that if you're going to cut somebody and you need to get under the cap, safeties are the way to go. And so we've seen an influx of safeties hit the market, none bigger than Justin Simmons of the Denver Broncos. And so this is a pretty robust safety market. Now, what is that going to do to the safety market? That's a great question to ask. I'm going to talk about that here in a second. As a matter of fact, let's talk about the guys that I think Washington should go after in free agency, and some guys that they may go after, and I'm not as sold on, but they may go after themselves, and we'll explain. So others to watch, other names to keep an eye on, okay? So let's talk about the free agents that I would target if I were the Washington Commanders at the safety position. And we start with Brandon Jones. So this is a guy that will be 26 in April. So he's a spring chicken. He's a young man. All right. He's a puppy, and he's aggressive. He's a big guy. I think he's like 6'1" or so. Not afraid to come up and hit you. Has some ball skills, but I think his presence is best felt down around the line of scrimmage. And so I think he would fit in what Dan Quinn is looking for. Fast, physical, and ball is life, right? And so a guy like Brandon Jones, I think, could be a nice, solid addition, not going to cost you a whole heck of a lot of money, and a guy that you can add to the mix of the safeties that you already have. I don't know if he's enough of a difference maker, though. I think we got enough Brandon Jones type players already currently on the roster with the Commanders. I think you're looking for more of an impact player. And so we go on to the next three guys who all of them I would be very intrigued by bringing them on board, as indicated by me having them highlighted in black, right? And it starts with Cam Curl. I know it seems like a foregone conclusion that he's not coming back. There seems to be a bit of hurt feelings right now with the organization that drafted him. Obviously, it's a new regime. They did not draft him. They do not have ties to Cam Curl. And so I think there is a little bit of him feeling like, where's my place in this organization with this new group that is taking over? And he kind of feels like they don't want me. And maybe they don't. But here's the thing. I think Cam Curl might find himself in the same boat as a lot of these safeties who think they're going to get paid big money. I don't think the market is going to develop for a lot of these because there's so many safeties available. This is an oversaturated safety market. And while you think you're about to score $14 or $15 million per year in this market, because there are so many to choose from, it's going to depress your market. It's going to make you expendable. It's going to give other teams options. You want 15 million? I'll go sign this guy for 11. I'll go sign this guy for 9, right? So because there are so many other options, you don't have leverage, if that makes sense. So I think it could be a situation where Cam Curl, feeling hurt right now, goes out on the market, thinks he's going to score this massive deal, only to realize it's not what I thought it was out here. Man, these streets are cold. It's dark out here. Can I come home? I would be open to a reunion with Cam Curl. The door is not closed. I'm telling him, come on in. It's nice and warm inside if he wants to come back. So I wouldn't slam that door shut just yet. Now, he might want to leave just off the strength of principle. No, I'll take less money to go elsewhere because I don't want to come back there because you guys don't value me. And that could be the situation too. But if he decides, damn, they offered me more than what I'm getting out here on their initial deal, maybe I'll go back. I'm open to that. The next guy on the list for me is Xavier McKinney. Now, I think there are two safeties in this market that are going to get paid good money, right? Xavier McKinney's one of them. And he's already said he wants to be one of, if not the highest paid safety in the NFL. He wants to be one of the highest paid players at the safety position. And in order to do that, you got to go up top. You got to go way up top to the big boys who are getting paid big money at the safety position. We're talking $18, $19 million a year. I don't know if Xavier McKinney's worth that kind of money, but what I can tell you is he fuses the three things that teams look for in a safety that gets you paid that kind of money. One, he's extremely young. This is a guy that's going to turn 26 in August. So he's a puppy. That's what you want. Because even if you sign him to a 3-year deal, he's still not going to be 30. That's the kind of guy you're looking for. So that's number one. Number two, he's versatile. He can play deep. He can play coverage. He can come down, drop into the box. He can be a physical enforcer. He can do everything you want him to do on a football field. He forces fumbles. He can pick off the football. He's a hybrid. He can do all of those things. That gets you paid as well. And then lastly, he's a playmaker. And if you're not taking it away, you don't get paid in this league at the safety position, which is why I think Cam Curl isn't going to see the kind of payday that he thinks may be coming his way. And so McKinney couples all of those things, right? I think he's going to see some money come his way. I think he's going to get broken off. I think it may be a little bit too rich for Washington's liking. Hence, I don't think he's going to end up here, and I'm okay with that. But if Washington wanted to pursue him heavily and they decide that they want to make him one of the highest paid safeties in the league, I wouldn't be upset at that either. I can't say he's worth that money, but he's a guy that you would like to see if he's worth that money. He's shown you that he's capable of potentially being worth that money. I wouldn't be upset about it. But I think there are other options that Washington can pursue that would be a lot less hectic and stressful on the wallet and maybe just as good, if not even better, in this defensive scheme that we may deploy. And this is the guy that I'm looking at and saying, hey, this is the one. This is the guy. Hey, this is the guy. It's Jeremy Chin, former Carolina Panthers second-round pick. Chin is 26. He just turned 26 in February. So just like Xavier McKinney, he's a puppy, man. Now Cam Curl is younger than all of them. He just turned 25 in early March. So Cam Curl is younger than all of these guys. And Brandon Jones, I think I told you this, I may not have, 26 in April. Okay, so all of these are young safeties, right? This is an oversaturated safety market. A guy like Jeremy Chin is another guy that's not going to get the kind of payday that he probably could get had this been a less saturated market. But because it's oversaturated, a guy like Jeremy Chin is just another one of these safeties in the mix. Well, good. I like it that way. That's the guy that I want, and hopefully you don't have to overspend to get him. He's tall, he's physical, he's got ball skills, he's got speed. You're talking about a sub 4.5 40 guy. None of these other safeties offer you that kind of speed. We know Dan Quinn likes to have these hybrid linebacker safety types in the box to be guys that give you more speed up front. Jeremy Chin can do that. He's a physical guy. Man, is he physical. He forces fumbles. He does a little bit of everything. He's the type of guy that I think would flourish in a Dan Quinn, Joe Witt Jr. type of defensive scheme. And so that's the guy that I'm willing to go all out for because, again, it shouldn't cost you $18, $19 million per. It won't cost you $15, $16 million per. I think you can get Jeremy Chin for 10, 11, 12, somewhere in that neighborhood per year, right? You can sign Jeremy Chin to a 3-year, $36 million deal. You can sign Jeremy Chin to a 3-year, $33 million deal. Hell, you might even be able to get Jeremy Chin on some 3-year, $29 million type shit. We'll see, right? I think that might be a little bit lower than what his market ultimately will be. But again, with all of these safeties available, I think you're going to see this market come down exponentially for these other safeties not named Xavier McKinney and Justin Simmons. Justin Simmons is going to be paid because there's a body of work and a level of production there that teams that are this close to winning the Super Bowl see, and they say, that guy can put us over the top. He's going to be paid. Xavier McKinney is going to get paid. I can't speak for the rest of these guys. So let's get to players that the team may consider at the safety position. And we start with C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I wouldn't be upset if they went that route. I don't think he is what they're looking for because I think they're looking for more of that hybrid linebacker safety type. Because we got plenty of guys on our roster that can run, who are safeties with speed that you can play single high safety with. That's who C.J. Gardner-Johnson is. He's more of a free safety, a single high free safety, a guy that is a ball hawk. But again, in a defense where they're preaching ball is life, we need turnovers like we need air to breathe. He's the kind of guy that can get you turnovers, as we've seen. And just keep this in mind. He played in Philadelphia for that 1 year. He was one of the best guys taking it away that year. Dan Quinn, Joe Witt Jr. got to see that firsthand as they played a coach in the division as well. So they knew what he was doing. I wouldn't rule out a guy like C.J. Gardner-Johnson being an addition to this team if they're looking to create turnovers. He's one of the best safeties at doing that in the league when he is healthy. And then finally, Jaron Kearse, for obvious reasons, he goes back to Joe Witt Jr., who was sort of a positional coach for him. He wasn't actually the DB's coach. That was Al Harris, but he was the pass game coordinator was Joe Witt Jr., and so he was very intimate with Jaron Kearse. Same thing can be said with Dan Quinn. He loves Jaron Kearse. I've talked about this multiple times. He's talked about Jaron Kearse unsolicited a few times about his versatility and what they did with him and what they asked him to do. He also brought up Micah Parsons, so it's not like, you know, he only talked about Jaron Kearse, but when he talks about versatility and asking guys to do multiple things, one of the names he constantly brings up is Jaron Kearse. Jaron Kearse is available in free agency. He just turned 30 in February. As we saw with Zach Ertz, age doesn't matter. So that the fact that he's turning 30 isn't going to scare Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. away from him. If they love him that much, they may just bring him on board knowing that this guy can come help implement what they want to do schematically on the defensive side of the football. And just to recap, C.J. Gardner-Johnson turns 27 in December, so he's a relatively young safety as well. It's a very, very deep crop of free agent safeties, and I think that's going to lead to a depressed market for most of these guys. Again, if your name isn't Xavier McKinney or Justin Simmons, you're not getting paid big money, I think. And so that's going to lead to some of these guys coming back down to earth and making them more reasonably priced. And that's why I said don't rule out a reunion with Cam Curl. Now, I don't know how they feel about him, but I would rather have Jeremy Chin over Cam Curl, to be honest with you, in this scheme. But I wouldn't be opposed to bringing Cam Curl back home. And you shouldn't close that chapter unless Cam Curl is so hell-bent on getting away from Washington because he felt disrespected, and there's no way he's coming back. No matter what the circumstances, he'll take less to go elsewhere. And I've seen players do that. Unless that's the case, don't rule Cam Curl coming back here to Washington out, because it's still in play, if you ask me. But that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this installment of the Command Post. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. Tell me what you think. Safeties that you would go after. Leave it down in the comment section, right? Leave it down in the comment section and tell me what you think. Do you think that the safety market is going to lead to, with so many being available, is it going to lead to the money not being as great as some people may think? There's a lot of safeties available. I talked about it on the last live stream when I gave you that comprehensive look at free agency for the Washington Commanders, where I went through every single position that I expect them to address. And I went through all of the options that I think they would, be thinking about at least. Go check that video out if you haven't had a chance to do so. But there's a lot of safeties available. We only need one. It's not like we need two or three like we do on the offensive line, specifically at tackle or with the edge rushers. We just need one. And keep in mind, we could do nothing at safety and get one in the draft. I would love to mitigate the amount of needs needed to address in the draft. I would love to mitigate that by getting a safety, and now safety's off the board. Tight end, potentially off the board with the signing of Zach Ertz, right? One player at certain positions, and now you don't need it. If they sign a free agent wide receiver, then you don't need receiver in the draft potentially, right? So they could take some of those needs off the board. I don't think they're going to do anything at receiver, but I've already thrown this out. Hollywood Brown, his connection to Cliff Kingsbury could land him here in Washington. Just some food for thought. You do the dishes. But that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this installment of the Command Post. Until next time, you guys have a good one. Take care. LouieTeeNetwork.